It's been a very tumultuous season for NC State men's basketball, which brings up a very interesting question. How has Coach Keats dealt with the criticism?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Tuesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we spoke yesterday. NC State men's basketball snapped their 9-game losing streak with an 8-point win over Boston College this past Saturday. I want to talk about some post-game comments made by Coach Keats, and it kind of gave a little bit of a look behind the curtain to some of the frustration I'm sure that he's dealt with on this 9-game losing streak and losing a lot of the momentum coming off of the back end of last year's great success in the postseason. I'm sure it's been tough on Coach Keats. I'm sure it's been tough on the locker room. It's definitely been tough on the fans, but some of these comments, it raised my ears a little bit. It made me perk up a little bit because I couldn't quite get what the point of saying some of these things were. I want to start. All of these quotes were posted by Pack Pride on Twitter. The first one in reference to Michael O'Connell and the fact that he has not been playing that well so far this season says, quote, Michael knows it's not March yet, ... I know Michael isn't playing as well on the offensive end. Trey Parker has been playing well, and I've been able to get him in, unquote. The part where it says Michael and Kenton, exactly. Your reaction was exactly my reaction. Kenton just took his headphones off and looked around aimlessly for those that cannot watch this. I hate to break this to Coach Keats and the rest of the basketball team. Playing in March is not promised. And so not being locked in, so to speak, in the middle of January and February, what are you doing then? If you're not playing at your peak potential now and March is not guaranteed, what are we talking about? How much longer do we have to wait for guys to play at their maximum potential?
I don't want to say this, but I got to say it. I don't want to say it, but I got to say it. We're suffering from LLS. There, I said it. Grayson, it's a terrible disease. It's a terrible disease. It's a disease that bad teams, bad programs, they get it when you're bad over a long period of time or mediocre. LLS stands for the lovable loser syndrome. Okay? And when you become when you develop lovable loser syndrome, you got to weed it out early. You got to get it out early, Grace. Because when that thing takes root in you, it's like gangrene, right? If you get it when you first got it, you'll be all right. But you let that thing linger too long, now you need to remove your leg from the knee down. Keats, what the hell are you talking about?
It's going to get worse here in a second, but go ahead.
It does not matter what happened or that, Michael knows how to turn it on. I'm sorry to tell you all. I'm sorry to tell you there is a thing that happens, but does the season start in March, Grayson?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Champions build it brick by brick, time in, time out. You know why champions do it that way? You know why teams that have sustained success do it that way? So that's the expectation. When I bought home a 3.5, my mom was like, great job, son. You did amazing. You did. She would say, what is this? What is this? Because she expected, hey, why are we not doing 3.840? What's going on here? She knew I couldn't draw worth a damn. I used to get B's in art. Don't judge me. But she knew this is the expectation. This is what you have to do. At Cass Tech, we didn't have the expectation. Oh, yeah, we got to the semifinal. We had a good year. Oh, we were one game short of a state championship. It was win it all or this season was a waste. It was a throwaway. It'd never been done in program history. But after we won that first one, we were so hungry to get back that it wasn't like, guys know how to turn it on in October. No, every single game, you got to come put your big boy britches on. Grayson, I don't even want you to read no more if it's going to get worse, but you got to. You got to do it So go ahead. Go ahead.
Leads me directly into this next quote, kind of in the same context. It says, quote, "It's hard for me to understand where all the criticism Michael has gotten has come from. What he did last year for us, you would think he's the worst player ever. Doesn't mean this team deserves grace, but don't take for granted what happened last year." Here's my problem with this quote. And this is a little bit nitpicky, but I do think these are things that need to be talked about. Last year's games are not being won right now. What you accomplished last year, it was great, but it's not winning you any games right now in the Big 25. And there's a small part of this where Keats has earned the right to say something like this. I don't think he should have said this in particular, but something like this, because yes, you did deliver the first major championship in a Big 3 sport in, I think it was 37 years. We all know what this meant to this school, this fan base, and everyone that's been an alumni for NC State University, what this past postseason meant in March and April. That being said, you don't understand where the criticism is coming from? How? What is being misunderstood right now? We're 10-15. And Mike O'Connell, I don't want to dump on him here, is not having a good year at all. Sorry, he's not. And Trey Parker needs to be getting probably the majority, if not all, of MOC's minutes, because Trey Parker is giving you a better chance to win basketball games right now than Michael O'Connell is. That is the fact of the matter. So the other part of this, Keats does deserve to say something like this, and I'll go ahead and read the other one here. It says, quote, "I get offended when it comes to my players. I don't get offended by me. At the end of the day, somebody should understand that something special happened here at NC State that hasn't happened in a long, long time," unquote. So yes, that part is true. And like I said, he's earned the right to be like, yes, I did bring the first ACC championship to NC State in a Major 3 sport in 37 years. He did do that. He did the unthinkable. He coached a 9-game winning streak when it was statistically impossible. I'm talking like less than 0.001%. It happened. We witnessed the impossible. That isn't doing anything for us right now. You are 16th in the ACC conference. If the season ended right now, you would not be in the ACC tournament, and it's embarrassing. So because of what you did accomplish at the end of last year, that's why we're pissed off. That's why people want more of you right now. That's why this fan base has been so critical, why you're seeing the apathy. Nobody's going to the games anymore because they're tired of the mediocrity. I don't know how that's not being understood. When you do accomplish what you accomplished at the end of last year, a conference championship and a trip to the Final Four, that should be built upon. That should be a springboard into more success, because we've been waiting 3 decades for this. And you've punted all of it, and we're 10-15, and you can't understand why we're frustrated. Kenton, take the wheel. I'm about to crash this thing.
Well, that don't hand it to me, because I'm going to crash out too. This is ridiculous. You know what the worst part of LLS is? When you get that lovable loser syndrome, and right before you get to stage 5, where you're permanently bad, where you don't believe anything good can happen, is stage 4, where you believe anything that good does happen is a one-off that everybody needs to be happy about, and we need to get fat and happy off that. Don't get me wrong. Raise the banner for Final Four. Don't get me wrong. Raise the banner for ACC championship. But brother, there's only one national champion. You wasn't it. Don't get fat and happy off of an ACC championship, because then that's saying that's the best we can do. That's our expectation. We've given you all we got. We're going to go on back and roll over. No. Where I come from, when you set that expectation, you got to do it every time. I'll give you a prime example. When I was playing for NC State in camp, there was a play. I was on the 3 technique to the short side of the field. There was a play where the offense ran outside zone to the wide side of the field. Now, because I knew I'm not going to run down the line and catch Tony Creasy, I took an angle. I said, I'm going to meet him at about the 5-yard line. In total, I ran, I want to say 50, 60 yards, something like that. I stopped him from getting in the end zone. And you know what Coach Nelson said to me? Coach Ryan Nelson said to me? Now you've got to do it every time. Because it wasn't oh man, you see that effort by Gibbs? Hey, we can't get no better than that. He did his thing. Hey, Gibbs, go take the next couple of days off practice, man. That's a good rep. But that which you put on tape, that's your highest level, good. That's what I expect now. That's the expectation. That's your level. And to see all of this, I'm gonna firmly disagree with you, Grayson. I don't give a damn how much you win. You can never, until you have raised multiple natty banners, I don't want to hear a damn thing about, oh, well, what we did here. Don't get me wrong. It is special. It is hard to do. 3 decades worth of hard. I'm not discounting that. I don't ever want to talk about the past. I want to talk about what's next. When I won one state championship, I wasn't like, oh, yeah, we're good now. I need to win another one. If I get one sack, it's not about, oh, man, I did such a good club rip and got to that court. Oh, my long arm stab. You ain't never seen a long arm stab like that. No, what do I need to counter with to win again? When he sees my best stuff coming and thinks I can block it now because he got me last time, I still need to have something ready because winning is the norm. I'm going to beat you now. I'm going to beat you next play. I'm going to beat you next year if you come back. That needs to be the expectation, not this. I mean, what the hell do you want from us? We finally did the thing. Good job. Now do it again. And do it the time after that. And do it the time after that. I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again today. The idea of going from the white hat to the black hat has to mean something to you. The idea of going from that lovable loser that America's rooting for, oh, you're America's team. The idea of going from the rebels to the empire means something. To me, I want to be the bad guy. Everybody's like, oh, hell, here he come again. Oh, hell. We're not that right now. You had a great month of March last year. Nobody's discounting that. But even the idea that, oh, he can turn on in March, preposterous, because March is not guaranteed. You could be your ass at home for the ACC championship. Come on, he can turn on in March. Well, what happens if March don't come? Kevin Keatts, what happens if March don't come?
In my estimation, this quote is essentially Keats telling on himself because the mindset that you take out of this quote, it's one of an unserious program. It's one of a coach that doesn't expect to be great every single year because this comes off as, well, I won you something here, take it. Damn, be quiet now. Look what we did last year. Here. Is that not enough for y'all? No. It was great. It was absolutely great. Flags will fly forever. You have your ring. Nobody can ever take that away from you. But that mindset of here, damn, we did it, now shut up, that is how you ensure that your program never goes back. That type of sedentary mindset that we did it once, well, we're good now. That is how you ensure that you never reach those heights again with this program. And that is the most frustrating part of those quotes that I saw on Saturday. It tells me that he almost doesn't even believe in himself that he can get this program back to consistent heights such as those. And if that is the case, and you're 10-15, and you might be on the hot seat next year, you should be on the hot seat next year, what are we really talking about here in the middle of February? We'll leave it there for now. I'm sure we'll see tons of comments on this subject in the comment box. Tell us your thoughts on Coach Keats' post-game comments from Saturday. Feel free to flood the comment box. Coming up next, we're going to dive into a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of something. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our Tuesday sponsor is TurboTax. Taxes used to be dealing with piles of paperwork and frustrating forms, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying if you were ever going to get any money back. Now, taxes is easily uploading your forms to a TurboTax expert who's matched to your unique tax situation. An expert who's backed by the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. While they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on their progress, and you get the most money back guaranteed. All of this while you are just going about your day. No stressing, no worrying, no waiting. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available on TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Middle portion of our Tuesday show. Now time for a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of something. 3 topics. We'll tell you exactly where we stand on them. First one here, buckle up for this one. It's a tweet I saw from Brian Geisinger on Twitter. It says, quote, NC State in ACC games this season per College Basketball Analytics with the lineup of MOC, Marcus Hill, Jaden Taylor, Dontrez Styles, and Ben Middlebrooks on the floor. They are plus 44 in just 115 minutes. For reference here, in ACC play in totality, we've played 565 minutes. That lineup right there, the 5 I just read to you, have only been on the floor in ACC games for 115 out of 565 minutes. I'll do the math for you. That is only 20% of our ACC games. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Grayson?
Same. I agree.
To quote a great man by the name of Earl Simmons, also known as Darkman X, y'all gonna make me lose my mind.
Up in where, Kenton?
Up in here. Up in here. So, Grayson, you said that lineup is plus 44, correct?
They have a plus minus of 44 in 115 minutes.
Okay. Plus minus of plus 44 in 115 minutes. Well, clearly, if we're not playing them together that much, then clearly we must be doing very well in conference, correct?
Would you believe 3-11?
3-11. See, this is what I mean by lovable loser syndrome is it's starting to rear its ugly head. Because as a coach, how do you not see this and how do you not play this group more? What is it? Is it the idea that when you play this group together, the bench group is so bad it's unbearable? Because if so, that's fine. If that's the data point that, hey, when you play this group together, you cannot properly stagger them and rest them in a way that the team is even livable when you're taking everybody else off the bench. But I still struggle with 20% of the game. I don't give a damn how tough it is to stagger them. These are 18 to 23-year-olds. They ought to be able to play about 30, 40, maybe even 50% of the game, no problem. Maybe 60 or so. I don't know. This is you're teetering on the verge of coaching malpractice. But don't forget what we did last year. Don't forget. Don't forget.
I don't know if you're teetering. You might have already teetered or maybe even tottered. Because one of the responses, so I had a quote tweet of Squidward with his eye twitching on Twitter because I couldn't believe I was reading this. Markel Johnson Burner asked us, what do stats even mean? I'm confused. And to that, I replied, in translation, this means our most effective 5-man rotation has only been on the floor together for 20% of total minutes in ACC play. Translation again, that is blasphemous coaching malpractice. That's what that is. And, the more you think about it, it's like, well, does that mean somebody who's in foul trouble or an injury? Yeah, maybe. But Ben Middlebrooks, to my knowledge, has only missed, I think, 1 or 2 games because he was sick. Dontrez Styles has not missed any time. Foul trouble has not been consistent enough to constitute only 20% of minutes in ACC play. So you circle all that up. What does that mean? That means the coach is completely mishandling the rotations in virtually every single game. That's what that means. You can't have that. That's why we're 10-15. Now, I'm also not saying that having this 5 on the court all the time would translate to the 4 seed in the ACC tournament, but I wouldn't be surprised if we had like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 more wins in ACC play, considering we had that stretch of games where they were all like one possession games, and we lost not just one, but all of them. So this is coaching malpractice. It is. There's really no teetering or tottering. This is just flat out coaching malpractice. That means your most effective rotation has not been on the floor for 80% of your minutes in ACC play. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the reason we are 10-15. Whole lot of something. Second one here, and we kind of talked about this on Monday, but I don't think it's being talked about enough. Women's college basketball is hosting College Game Day this coming weekend to face number 1 Notre Dame. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something. Westmore and these women have been like Randy Orton in his prime. They have been the legend slayers. They have said, oh, you think that you've got a great team. You think you've got a number 1 seed, whatever the case may be. They've taken those teams down time and time and time again. Every time they get disrespected, every time they get overlooked, every time they get, dropping 2 spots in the polls for losing on the road by 1 point against your rival who's also in the top 15. These types of moments, it's what NC State women's basketball relishes. It's when they show up and show all the way out. And that's what I'm expecting in this game. But more importantly, I don't think that, like Grayson said, I don't think a lot of people are properly giving it its due. This is massive. Yeah. This is an absolutely massive get for NC State in terms of having college game day, not just at an NC State game, in Raleigh. They'll be in Raleigh. L. Duncan and company will be at Reynolds Coliseum. That's a hell of a time.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, because this is almost like a culmination of everything that this program has accomplished in the last 4 to 5 years. We had a three-peat of ACC championships. We've had all the success. We went to the Final Four this last year. Getting college game day is really not something that's happened all that often to NC State athletics across men's basketball and football, now women's basketball. Men's basketball, I think the last time they had it was way back in like the CJ Leslie days, if I'm not mistaken. We're talking like 2011, 2012, 2013. That's like the last time I can remember. I think we played Carolina. So it's been, I guess, a decade, 10 years since the men's team has had it. Football, we had our last one. We were featured down at Clemson. That was 2022, but they have not been to Raleigh since 2004. And I can't even remember the last time they've been in Reynolds for a college game day nonetheless. So this is a very, very big deal. And, you also talk about the fact you're playing the number 1 team in the nation, and you're in a closely contested race in the ACC standings. So this is humongous for this program. It's a big deal for Westmore. It's a big deal for everyone that has supported NC State women's basketball in the last however many years. This is a very, very, very big deal. And so I hope that the fans are going to take that into account. They're going to show up for the college game day show. I would love nothing more than to see Reynolds Coliseum packed out on national television, because you're playing Notre Dame. They're number 1 in the country, and you get to showcase, as an NC State fan, Reynolds Coliseum to the country. The country is watching this, and they get to see what Reynolds Coliseum is all about. This should be a massive platform for NC State to show the world what a special arena Reynolds Coliseum can be. And if you beat Notre Dame on that stage, what more could you possibly ask for? That's better than ever. So this is a really big deal. I hope it doesn't get overlooked, and I cannot wait to see Reynolds Coliseum packed out when we face number 1 Notre Dame. Last one here, NC State baseball related. Of the 15 players that got at least 1 at-bat this past weekend against Fordham, 11 of them are hitting at least 300 or higher. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of nothing. It's a small sample size. I don't think those Fordham Rams really sling that pill around properly. We'll play. We'll see better pitching. We'll see a lot better pitching, and run rules. I mean, hey, I hope that run rules are this easy to come by. I hope that This is the standard for the year. But if that is your expectation, I think you may be disappointed. I do think this team is as good as advertised, despite a certain site refusing to put us in their top 25, looking at you, perfect game. But, in all seriousness, I don't look at this and say that this is something that I'm expecting to last in the long run. Whole lot of nothing, in my opinion.
I think it's a little bit of both. And to Kenton's point, Fordham is not a formidable opponent. And yes, you should be knocking the ball all over the ballpark when you play a team like Fordham. So this is a little bit of cherry picking, I will admit to you. However, I think hitting wise, the weekend did go a little bit better than I would have anticipated. If you would have told me before the weekend that we'd have 15 guys get an AB, how many do you think will be over 300? I probably would have said like 8, not 11, but probably like 8, which is slightly under half. It's cherry picking because a couple of these guys had like 1 at bat and they homered, or they had 2 at bats and they had a single. I get it. It's a little bit of cherry picking, but I say all that to say the offense impressed me even more than I hoped that they would in a 3-game stretch. 3 games, 3 run rules. You're off to a great start. And this week, we're going to talk about Liberty here in just one moment. Then you go down to Jacksonville and you play 3 P4 schools. You're going to find out pretty quickly a better barometer of what you might have this season. So far, so good, but I do think it's a little bit of both. A little bit of cherry picking. It is what it is, but I was impressed with what I saw against Fordham.
Also, to that end, now that I think about the Jacksonville Classic, don't come back in 15 games. Come back in about 5. Come back in about 5 games. I'll tell you how legit it is. And again, this is not me or Grayson hating on this team because, again, we would love – nothing would make us happier, okay? Run rule in Bama, nothing would make me happier. I would be head over heels for that one, okay? But, again, this is not a big enough sample against a good enough team for me to say, hey, this is extremely meaningful. But I will say it is meaningful in the fact that this team doesn't play with their food in the same way that we saw from last year's team at times.
Coming up next, we're going to get into who's going to be starting our midweek against Liberty. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Last couple minutes of our Tuesday show. We do have a midweek baseball game today on Tuesday. NC State will host the Flames of Liberty, and we all know the type of struggles that we had in the midweek last year. We had a stretch we lost, I think it was like 8 in a row, if I'm not mistaken, whether it was ECU or Elon, Campbell, could not buy a midweek game. This marks the opportunity to completely flip the script from last year and take advantage of every single game that you have, not just the weekend ones in the ACC. Liberty comes to Raleigh on Tuesday, and senior Matt Willardson will get the start on the mound. His first start since June the 3rd of 2023, and that was in the Columbia, South Carolina Regional. Obviously, Willardson missed all of last season, rehabbing from Tommy John. He did get on the mound this past weekend against Fordham, very limited capacity. Also, objectively funny, he gave up a home run on the very first pitch he threw after a year of rehab. Objectively funny, not making fun of him. If it were me, I'd laugh too. But after a year off, the first pitch he throw goes over the fence. All right, it's a little bit funny. This is a special moment for Willardson, especially for this team as well, to get back a senior leader on the mound, one of your most experienced pitchers you have in the entirety of your staff. I don't anticipate that he'll stay in the midweek for long. This feels like a rehab stint to get him back up to weekend speed. But Kenton, what does it mean for this team to get back one of their veteran leaders on the mound?
Oh, Matty Ice is called Matty Ice for a reason. The young man has ice in his veins. He doesn't flinch in the big moments and all that. But I will say this. You know, you talk about the first pitch going yard and all that. Hey, it's to be expected. It's to be expected. You expect some struggles like that at times. And at the end of the day, a lot of people don't realize what a game of chance baseball is. Sometimes you just have that one pitch that goes a little awry and the guy takes a yard. Hey, Matt, you all right, brother? You all right? Get back on that mound and start racking up those Ks like you were in my family. All of our first names start with Ks. That's why I said that. So, yeah, just go ahead, do your thing, man. We believe in you. We know you're going to be great. And the reality of this thing is, like you said, Grayson, it is to get him back to that weekend speed. That's what this is about more than anything else, because he is part of the sauce that makes this special. He is part of the sauce that makes NC State's bullpen special. So I'm expecting great things from him. Hey, Matt, we ready to see you do great things, brother.
I'll be very intrigued to see how deep he goes into this matchup on Tuesday. But if he can give you, say, 4 or 5 innings, scoreless even, that'd be even better. I think that'd be a very strong sign of what's to come this season for Matt Willardson. A year and a half after making his last start on the mound. Very excited for Matt. Very excited for this program. Cannot wait to finally get a midweek win, we hope, against the Flames of Liberty. Should be a very good ball game on Tuesday at the Doak. That'll do it for us here on Tuesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us your thoughts on Kevin Keatts' post-game comments from Saturday. Feel free to flood the comments on that one in particular. Let us know what you think about NC State baseball as they begin to face tougher competition as soon as today into this coming weekend. Anything else you have on your mind, drop that in the comment box as well. Mash that subscribe button. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Wednesday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.